Hollywood greats like Gary Cooper and They Came to Pandora in 1959. It was during the filming of that movie that his life changed forever. While filming a scene involving a railroad handcar, York was severely injured, tearing the muscles along the right side of his back and neck. The pain was immediate and excruciating, but also invisible. And so, like many actors of his time, he pressed on, ignoring the agony while quietly becoming dependent on painkillers just to function. By the time Bewitched began, York was already battling chronic pain, masking his medication and willpower. He often filmed episodes propped up on one side using cleverly placed furniture or camera angles to hide the struggle. The cast and crew adored him, but they could see him fading. Elizabeth Montgomery and Agnes Moorehead in particular tried to protect him on set, but the pain never left. Never. In 1969, after 5 seasons, York collapsed on set. The pain had become unmanageable. He was forced to leave the show and was quietly replaced by Dick Sargent. There was no farewell episode, no explanation, just a disappearance as if Darren himself had been wished away. And just like that, Dick York's career was over. Hollywood stopped calling. He was typecast, broken, and addicted. For years, he lived in poverty, racked by physical agony and the humiliation of being forgotten. He and his wife, Joan "Joey" York, moved into a small house in Michigan where she cared for him while he struggled to regain his life. He never stopped trying. In the 1980s, after decades of silence, Dick York reemerged not as an actor, but as an activist. He founded Acting for Life, a non-profit organization aimed at helping the homeless and those in need. Even as he lived with emphysema and breathing through an oxygen tank, he made calls to donors, wrote letters, and gave interviews from his hospital bed. On February 20th, 1992, Dick York died at the age of 63 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, from complications of emphysema. He had smoked for most of his life, a habit he admitted helped him cope with stress and pain. His final words spoken to his beloved wife Joey were simply, "I love you." Dick Sargent as Darren Stevens. Dick Sargent, born Richard Stanford Cox on April 19, 1930 in Carmel, California, became the new face of Darren Stevens on Bewitched in 1969 after Dick York's health forced him to leave the show. At 39 years old, Sargent stepped into an impossible role, replacing a beloved actor in a beloved show, all while hiding a truth he couldn't speak aloud. On screen, he was polished and professional. His version of Darren was more reserved, slightly more cynical, but still deeply in love with Samantha. He carried the role with dignity, despite constant comparisons and backlash from fans who preferred York. But behind the smile and the suits was a man quietly carrying a lifelong secret, one that in the era of 1960s Hollywood could destroy a career. He was gay. Sargent came from a well-off background. His mother was a successful film and television producer, and his early years were filled with promise. He studied drama at Stanford University and soon found work in television and film. He appeared in dozens of shows before Bewitched, including The Tammy Grimes Show, Gunsmoke, and Leave It to Beaver. But despite the growing resume, he was never fully at ease, always watching what he said, how he moved, who he was seen with. When he joined Bewitched, the pressure intensified. The show's wholesome image and massive popularity meant that any hint of scandal could have cost him everything. So he smiled, acted, and stayed quiet, even as the role that brought him the most fame also trapped him in silence. After Bewitched ended in 1972, Sargent's career slowly declined. He appeared in smaller roles, TV, movies, and commercials, but he was never again a household name. In interviews, he seemed upbeat, but friends later revealed he struggled with depression, loneliness, and anger at the double life he had been forced to live. Everything changed in 1991 when Sargent, now in his 60s, publicly came out as gay, becoming one of the first major television stars to do so. He did it on National Coming Out Day, not for attention, but to stand in solidarity with LGBTQ plus youth struggling with their identity. He later said, "I would rather lose a job than lose myself." It was an act of deep courage and quiet liberation. In that same year, tragedy struck. His longtime partner died of a brain tumor, and soon after, Sargent was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Though weakened, he devoted his final years to AIDS awareness, LGBTQ plus activism, and speaking openly about acceptance and love, often at a time when the public still didn't want to hear it. On July 8, 1994, Dick Sargent died at the age of 64 at his home in Los Angeles. He died peacefully, surrounded by love, no longer hiding. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean. Agnes Moorehead as Endora. Agnes Moorehead, born December 6, 1900, took on the unforgettable role of Endora Samantha's caustic, colorful, and otherworldly mother in Bewitched when the series premiered in 1964. She was 63 years old, regal in her bearing, razor sharp in delivery, and gloriously unapologetic. On screen, she was enchanting, exasperating, and impossible to ignore, just as she was in real life. Born in Clinton, Massachusetts, to a Presbyterian minister and a classically trained singer, Agnes was raised with strict values and a deep love for literature and language. She earned multiple degrees, including a master's from the University of Wisconsin, and later trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. She spoke 6 languages, and once said she preferred reading theology over attending Hollywood parties. Before Bewitched, Moorhead had already earned a reputation as a powerhouse. She appeared in Orson Welles' Citizen Kane, 1941, voiced dozens of iconic radio roles, and was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including for The Magnificent Ambersons. She was often described as too intelligent for the roles she was offered. When Bewitched came her way, she took the part reluctantly, thinking it was beneath her classical training. But she grew to love the cast, especially Elizabeth Montgomery, whom she treated like a daughter. Still, Agnes never truly shook the feeling that her finest work had been in the past, and the show, however adored by fans, wasn't the legacy she'd imagined for herself. Her personal life was marked by deep emotional complexity. She was married once to actor John Griffith Lee, but the marriage ended in divorce in 1952. She never remarried and had no children. Her strict religious upbringing, combined with her intense privacy, fueled decades of speculation about her sexuality, rumors she never confirmed or denied. Many biographers believe she may have lived as a closeted lesbian, navigating a world that offered little safety for women like her. In the early 1970s, she began experiencing serious health issues. In 1972, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer, a disease she believed was connected to her work on the 1956 film The Conqueror, which was filmed near a nuclear test site in Utah. Many cast and crew members from that film, including John Wayne, who later also developed cancer, leading to years of suspicion that the location had been contaminated. As her health declined, Moorhead refused to slow down. She continued to act on stage, often performing while in pain. She remained gracious with fans, but insisted on maintaining her dignity and mystery. In her will, she left money to over 20 charities, including religious organizations, educational institutions, and art programs. On April 30th, 1974, Agnes Moorehead died at the age of 73 at Methodist Hospital in Rochester, Minnesota. Her final days were private, surrounded by close friends and her faith. She was buried in Dayton, Ohio, next to her mother and father, far from the lights of Hollywood. David White as Larry Tate. David White, born April 4th, 1916, became a familiar face to millions when he stepped into the role of Larry Tate, the smooth-talking, flip-flopping advertising executive on Bewitched. He was 48 years old when the show began, bringing energy and wit to a character who could shift morals as fast as his clients changed minds. But off-screen, White was nothing like the loud, laugh-driven man he portrayed. He was quiet, disciplined, and carrying grief he rarely spoke about. Before Bewitched, David had built a solid career as a stage and screen actor. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps during World War II, and later landed roles in respected films like The Apartment and Sweet Smell of Success. But his life was struck by heartbreak in 1958, years before the fame of Bewitched would come. David had married Mary Welch, a rising Broadway actress, and the two had a son, Jonathan. But tragedy came suddenly. Mary died from medical complications at just 36 years old. The loss devastated David. He never remarried, choosing instead to raise his son alone and live largely outside the Hollywood limelight. On the set of Bewitched, he was known as professional, punctual, and polite. While others mingled with the press, David avoided the spotlight. To most, he was simply Larry Tate. But beneath the performance was a man who had already buried the love of his life and who feared losing more. Then, in 1988, the unimaginable happened. His only son, Jonathan White, was killed in the Pan Am Flight 103 bombing over Lockerbie, Scotland, one of the deadliest terrorist attacks of the decade. Jonathan was just 33.
All right, let's go. Gotta get back in the game.
He stopped appearing publicly and withdrew into privacy. David White died of a heart attack on November 27, 1990, at the age of 74. He passed away quietly without fanfare. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean, a gentle, silent farewell, fitting for a man who spent his life avoiding the noise of fame. George Tobias as Abner Kravitz. George Tobias, born July 14, 1901, in New York City, became a beloved figure to television audiences as the perpetually annoyed television-watching neighbor Abner Kravitz in Bewitched. When the series began in 1964, he was 63 years old, a seasoned character actor with decades of film and stage experience. With his dry wit and perfect comic timing, Tobias gave Abner a heart beneath the rumbling. The everyman practiced absurdity, but off-screen, his life was marked by solitude, quiet grief, and a longing that never quite found peace. Raised in a working-class Jewish family, Tobias began acting as a teenager in Yiddish theater before moving into Broadway and eventually Hollywood. By the 1940s, he was a familiar face in Warner Brothers films, often cast as the comical sidekick or affable friend in movies like Yankee Doodle Dandy and Sergeant York. Though never a leading man, he was always reliable, always memorable, a respected presence in the golden age of Hollywood. But despite his success, Tobias's personal life was eerily quiet. He never married and had no known long-term partners or children. In a town obsessed with romance and image, he kept to himself. Some whispered about his sexuality. Others assumed he had loved and lost. But he never spoke publicly about matters of the heart. His life outside of acting was mostly spent in his modest Hollywood Hills home with classical music books and his cat. When he joined Bewitched, the role of Abner Kravitz gave him a late career revival. Viewers adored his exasperated chemistry with the nosy, overdramatic Gladys, played first by Alice Pierce and later by Sandra Gould. But George was deeply affected by Pierce's real-life death from cancer in 1966, a loss that reminded him of his own fragility and deepened his withdrawal from public life after the show ended. By the 1970s, Tobias had retired from acting completely. His eyesight began failing and he developed serious health issues. Friends noted that he declined invitations, rarely left home, and became a ghost of a man who had once lit up every room. But he remained proud of his work and humble to the end. On February 27, 1980, George Tobias died of bladder cancer at the age of 78 alone in Los Angeles. He had no family at his bedside, only a few close friends and caretakers. He was buried in the Mount Carmel Cemetery in Glendale, far from the cameras and stage lights he had once known so well.
Thank God we're at the last. Oh, we're at the last one.
As Louise Tate.
The last one.
Casey Rogers, born Josie Imogen Rogers on December 15, 1925,
guys.
Missouri, joined Bewitched in 1966, replacing Irene Byrne as Louise Tate, the elegant and supportive wife of Larry Tate. She was 40 years old when she took the role poised, polished, and refined, offering a grounded contrast to the show's supernatural chaos. Casey began her career in the 1940s under the name Laura Elliott landing ingenue roles in suspense films like Strangers on a Train. Her face was radiant, her smile cinematic, and yet she was never fully embraced as a leading lady. By the mid-1950s, she disappeared from the screen, choosing instead to focus on raising her children. But like many women in Hollywood, the career break came at a cost when she tried to return. The doors had nearly all closed. To find a second act, she changed her name. Casey Rogers was born, and she slowly clawed her way back, mostly through guest roles on television. When Bewitched came calling in 1966, it wasn't just another job, it was a resurrection. As Louise Tate Casey finally found a steady home, her chemistry with David White Larry brought authenticity to their marriage on the screen, and her warmth made her a beloved part of the bewitched family. But off-screen, she often battled insecurity privately, wondering if she was only seen as a replacement, not just for the role, but in the eyes of an industry that always wanted someone newer, younger, different. In her personal life, Kate
Now I gotta sign out. So. Right, last line of 26. Oh, all. Let's see. The 96 there has a song. Equals 62. Equals. Let's see if this fits here. So, let's go. Now this tripod's legit. So let's finish that. We just gotta get video.
Casey endured emotional wounds rarely spoken of in interviews. She married twice. Her second marriage to Walter Winslow was long-lasting, but not without struggles. She lost a child early in her life, a grief she carried quietly for decades. Friends say she was warm, funny, and fiercely loyal, but also someone who never fully believed she was enough a shadow left by years of near misses in her early Hollywood career. After Bewitched ended, Casey transitioned into writing and motorsports, an unusual but passionate shift.
Woo!
She co-authored several books on motocross, a sport her son was involved in, and became an advocate for women in sports journalism. It was yet another reinvention, and one of the few places where she felt completely herself. In the early 2000s, Casey was diagnosed with throat cancer, and later suffered complications from a stroke. Despite her condition, she remained gracious with fans, still attending Bewitched reunions and fan events until her health declined. On July 6, 2006, Casey Rogers died at the age of 80 in Los Angeles. She passed away peacefully, surrounded by family, far from the spotlight, but not forgotten. Sandra Gould as Gladys Kravitz. Sandra Gould, born July 23, 1916, in Brooklyn, New York, stepped into the role of Gladys Kravitz on Bewitched in 1966 at the age of 50. Taking over the part after the untimely death of Alice Pierce, Sandra faced the daunting task of replacing a beloved character and making it her own. And she did with piercing shrieks, bulging eyes, and a comedic flair that made her version of Gladys iconic. Sandra began her career in radio and vaudeville during the 1930s with a natural knack for timing and dialects. She appeared in over 200 radio shows and later transitioned into films and television, often cast as the fast-talking secretary. or the nosy neighbor roles Hollywood repeatedly handed to women with strong personalities and comedic instincts, and just as quickly forgot. Though Sandra worked steadily for decades, she never broke through to stardom. She was always that face, that voice, never quite a household name. When she landed Bewitched, it was both a blessing and a burden. The audience adored her shrill version of Gladys Kravitz, but Sandra knew she was playing a character who was often laughed at, not with. Privately, she longed for roles with more depth, more dignity. But she also embraced what Bewitched gave her a permanent place in pop culture. Still, friends say she would sometimes wonder if she was respected as an actress or remembered as a gimmick. Her personal life carried deep wounds. Sandra was married twice, and her second husband, television executive Larry Burns, passed away suddenly in the 1960s. She never remarried. The loss left a lasting scar, one she covered with humor, public appearances, and a busy schedule. She had one son who she adored, but her life often felt empty.
I set your alarm for 6:51 p.m.
In her later years, she authored books on etiquette and even tried her hand at writing comedic columns. But as age and illness crept in the industry, as it so often does, stopped calling. She made one final appearance in the Brady Bunch movie in 1995, a small nostalgic cameo that reminded audiences of the quirky voice they hadn't heard in years. On July 20th, 1999, just 3 days before her 83rd birthday, Sandra Gould passed away from a stroke in Burbank, California. Her death barely made headlines. There was no grand memorial, no tribute show. But for those who grew up watching Bewitched, her screams, gasps, and frantic curtain peeking had long become unforgettable. Alice Pierce as Gladys Kravitz. Alice Pierce, born October 16, 1917 in New York City, became instantly unforgettable to television audiences as the original
Hey. You have to go outside every time you answer the phone? Huh? I know, but you just walked outside. So I was asking you, you gotta walk outside every time you answer the phone now? Huh? Wait, what do we talk about most of the time? I don't understand what you mean. You just pick up the phone and you say hello, no matter where you're at. You just started this.
My point is that I'm talking to you, ain't I?
Yeah, I know, but it looked like you walked outside to pick up the phone. That looked new to me. Usually you just pick up in the kitchen and is somebody bothering you in the house?
No, my grandma is playing her speaker.
Oh, she's playing music.
Yeah, she's playing Call My Twitty.
Oh, really?
He's my man. I have to admit that I love Call My Twitty.
What is he, country music?
He's like 80s, 90s.
But like, what kind of music is it, do you think?
He does this one about a woman, and I love it. It just reminds me of me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. What's it about? Like, what's the song mainly about?
I have to send it to you.
Yeah, you should send me it so I can listen to it. Because there's songs you used to send me. You haven't sent me a song in a while.
My grandmother says that I can sing, but
You probably can sing. I feel like I could sing. I'm better at rapping, but I don't know if I could sing. I feel like I can. I feel like I can hit certain notes, but I feel like if you're around a certain people, they can help you sing better. I noticed that too. I don't know if you know that. You're sending me a song.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for it.
You should stop using that machine to pop pimples because you're gonna leave a scar. I remember when I bought mine, it was like 15, $20 from Amazon. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna use it. I used it like for like 20 seconds and never used it again. Because I just something told me not to use it. Huh?
What was it called?
What, the machine? What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought you were saying you were using something.
Yeah, no, I was using the machine you put on your face for pimples.
Yeah.
That's gonna leave you a scar. That's probably why I stopped using it. I'm doing work right now.
Well, when I find it, I'll send it to you.
You will?
Yeah.
Alright, that sounds good. I don't know what the fuck that is. And then that looks like eggs or something. Has to be like shrimp eggs. Cause I got a bunch of little shrimp that somehow they got in my tank, and they're just crawling everywhere. They look like roaches in here. Cause they say that shrimp are the roaches of the ocean. Shit, I don't doubt it. And there's my sea urchin dragging along my freaking. You see what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
My sea urchin is attached to my freaking. What is this called, guys? It's called a coral, right? I'll talk about it later. See that coral right there?
Yeah.
My sea urchin attaches stuff to it to blend in. And now that it's blending in, it decides to basically, I think hopefully it doesn't drag it out the spot it's at. Oh wow, there was a bunch of, back there you see this giant snail. There was a bunch of shrimp on him. He just shook his body and they all flew. So yeah, one of my big snails died the other day. I was so sad. Oh look, there's a giant a giant worm right there, babe. You probably won't be able to. There it is. It's hard to see because of the light, but there's a giant worm there. All right. Well, I'll call you back in a bit. All right.
Alright.
All right. Good night. I said good night. I meant talk to you later. Sorry. Yeah, I love you too.
So you got the MVP promotion, and it's Netflix.
Put alarm on for an hour.
For what time?
Una hora, please.
Set the alarm for when?
60 minutes.
Your alarm is set for 7:56 p.m.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's the Mike Perry fight. That's what's coming up. How did the fight come to be? Me and Mike Perry been the biggest thing on the outside of the UFC for a cool minute, and he